Welcome to Butterfield Backstage Banter, the BSP podcast where host Jessica DeMent is joined backstage by her guests to banter about theater at Butterfield in Gainesville, Texas.
Hello and welcome to Butterfield Backstage Banter. I am your host, Jessica DeMent, and today I am joined by one of our actresses from The Wolves, Tearsia Voyles. Hello, Tearsia.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Of course, I'm very excited.
Very excited to have you here. Before we jump into talking about the show, can you tell the audience a little bit about your background with theater?
Yeah, of course. So I went to a really small school, so I know a lot of the people that I'm working with in the show did theater in school. I actually started doing theater here at Butterfield when I was in high school. After I watched Hamilton when it came out on Disney Plus during COVID, I was like, that's really what I want to do. So I did Zoom classes there, and then I started, my first performance was here at Butterfield. I did Elf the Musical. I was like a background character. I had 3 lines, and I'm so excited to say them. And then I've done a few other Butterfield shows here, and that's, basically all my experience in theater. So yeah.
Exciting. Sounds like fun. Can you tell us which character you play in the show?
I play number 25, the captain of the team.
Captain.
Yes.
And do you identify with number 25 at all?
In a lot of ways, yes. I think that she really tries her hardest to keep the team together. The coach of the team, does not do a very good job taking care of the team. So she really has to step up. And I feel like she's a little in over her head at some points. And that's how I feel a lot of the time too. But again, someone had to step up. And so I think she did it. So yeah. I definitely relate to her in that way. And then just, I don't know, as an older sibling, I think that I'm kind of channeling that energy through that. And so I just feel like, oh, these are my girls. I got to take care of them and keep them on track. And I think that being an older sister has really helped me with that character development.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm the eldest daughter.
Yes.
So I very much understand. So
you completely understand
that. Have a sibling. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel sometimes. Yep.
Yes. When Allison and I sat down and talked about the show, we discussed some of the heavier topics that the show covers, because it really does kind of cover some heavy things. How do some of those topics either impact your character or come into play with your character's storyline?
I will say, I think some of the bigger, heavier topics that are going to be seen in the show don't necessarily happen to my character, but as the captain, I feel like it still affects her. She's still worried about her teammates and things like that. And I mean, it affects everyone on the team, And so I think it's more of I think the tough thing is that she's trying to keep the team together, and she's really worried about other people on the team. So that's where it comes in, is she has to know what's going on with everyone. If you want to have a fully functioning team, you've got to know what's going on. And I think that's one of her main focuses, is just like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. I've got to keep them together, keep them on track. So
kind of that pressure that comes.
Exactly.
Being in that role, I imagine a lot of it for your character is self-imposed pressure.
Oh, for sure, yes. I mean, her dad used to be the captain of the team, actually. So there's that pressure too, that she's like, I've got to live up to not only my dad's expectations, but my teammates' expectations. I mean, these girls have been playing together since they were little kids, so they've been through it all together. And so I feel like that would be kind of tough to go from being friends to kind of being like a leader in that position, because I know if I were trying to boss my friends around, that would be a tough thing to do. They wouldn't take me seriously at all. And so I think it's probably tough for her to kind of change it to a leader. And I think we see that in the show at some points, that she's struggling a bit with that.
Wow, that sounds like a lot for a teenage girl.
Oh, for sure. Yes, for sure.
A lot of pressure for a teenage girl. There's already a lot.
Yeah, these girls go through it, definitely. But
yeah. Before this show, have you ever played soccer?
No. So I definitely was like the smart kid in school. I was like student council and all this and that. I did play basketball in middle school. I was a bench warmer though, so it's terrible. But yeah, I had no soccer experience at all. The first time I actually started playing soccer was when we did our soccer workshop here for the show. Yeah, and so that was definitely like a fun day. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But thankfully, my character actually never kicks the ball even though she's the captain. At no point in the show does she kick the ball, which I think is quite funny. So everyone else in the show has a moment, kicking the ball and doing that. And I don't know, mine just kind of tells everyone else what to do.
Everyone has to kick the ball.
So I was very thankful for that. I was like, oh, no one's going to see me kick it terribly. I'm not going to hit anyone. It's going to be great.
That's good.
Yes, definitely.
What have some of the challenges been that you faced during this production as an actor?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say for sure, just I think I would say this is my first like really big role. So going into that, I've just kind of been like, side characters and things like that. And so first of all, learning all the lines was difficult. I mean, we just got out of rehearsal just now and it was a little rocky, but I think we're definitely gonna be ready by opening night. It's just the show is so fast paced and you really do feel like you're sitting and watching a bunch of teenage girls talk. Like there's some overlapping dialogue, which is tough, especially if you're trying to have a conversation, there's another one happening. So just making sure everyone's line is hit and that the story flows how I think that the playwright wanted it to has been the toughest part. But I think that it's coming together great. And I mean, I really got to know my castmates really well, and we're really becoming a team in real life, I think.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's great whenever casts have that.
Exactly.
It definitely shows on stage.
Exactly.
It brings a lot to the stage. Touching on what you said about the dialogue and the overlapping, I actually watched a video on YouTube with the playwright where she was being interviewed, and the interviewer actually asked her about, that overlapping dialogue. Because I guess whenever the show first came out, even though it was like wonderfully received, she received a lot of kind of negative feedback about the way the dialogue was and the people talking over. And she had said that in her mind, she felt it was more like a musical score where all of the girls' voices are just different instruments. And just because they're going at the same time doesn't mean that they're not part of the same song. And I thought that was such a great way of describing it. Do you, as an actor, feel like, can you resonate with that?
I completely agree. And then I've done a few musicals as well. And so, I mean, there's parts of the musical where it's like different words are happening at the same time. But I was talking to my sister, and I mean, I'm making her be my scene partner whenever I'm rehearsing my lines, because that's what sisters are for.
Of course.
And she was talking about it, and she was like, this is crazy. Like, don't you want them to hear every line? And I said, well, it's sort of like, I don't think every line is meant to be heard necessarily. I think you're going to focus on what you focus on. And I also feel like the show is, if you come to see it more than once, you're going to hear different things. It's going to be a different show each time, which I think is amazing. But it's really just kind of like a harmony. Everyone's just saying the right lines at the right time. And whenever I'm sitting there in the moment, I'm not really focusing on it. But sometimes I'm off stage and I hear them going, and I'm like, this sounds so amazing. Like you just got to come to see it and you'll understand. Yeah.
That's exciting. I'm very excited to see that. What have some of the, what are some of the highlights for the process been for you?
Oh, definitely. I just want to say, like, just getting to, again, I keep saying I'm the castmates, but that's probably been the most fun part, is just getting to know these girls. I mean, I knew a few of them because we've done shows together before, but then there's also been some new ones that I didn't get to meet, but now I know them so well. And I think just coming into rehearsal has just been so fun. And I know that the show touches on some heavier topics, and of course, I think we're doing respect to those moments. But I think that if we weren't as comfortable with each other and we didn't have time to just like let loose and have fun and get to know each other, it would be a much different show. So really getting to know the girls and just working with them has been probably the biggest highlight of this whole thing.
I imagine. I think it's so great that you said that, because so far every actress from the show that has sat on this couch has said the same thing.
I love that. There we go.
Just that's one of the highlights, that they love the camaraderie that you guys are building, the way that y'all are working together, and just what y'all are building off stage while you're working on stage. So I think that's great that, you just kind of reiterated what everybody else is saying.
Because it's true.
Absolutely. Do you have any funny stories or wins pertaining to the show that you would like to share?
I love the win pun, by the way. Our director, Allison, will sometimes say the word goal, like this is our goal, and every single time it's said, I have to giggle. I don't think anyone else really notices it. The soccer puns get me. I love the dad jokes. That's a good question. There's so many funny moments I'm trying to think, and there's a lot of inside jokes that would. I'm so sorry. I'm really trying to think of something good to say that'll keep people entertained. I'd say just the funny moment for me is I'm not on stage, and almost everyone else is on stage, and they're doing this big spider thing, and they're kicking the ball, and I'll be backstage watching, And almost every single time they'll just, I mean, we're practicing, it's gonna be great, but they kick the ball and it's where someone in the audience would be sitting and I'm like, that's another ankle that just got hit. Yeah. And so I'm just backstage laughing. Because I mean, they're really focused there. I mean, there's a lot of lines happening at the same time. So they're trying to say their lines and do the spider web as well. But it's quite funny while they're trying to figure it out. And I think, goodness, like I'm not embarrassing myself out there. Like, dang, this is so.
That is funny. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about the show or the process?
I mean, it's just the process is really tough, but I think it's a rewarding one. It's a really great show. I think whenever I came in, I didn't know anything about it, and then when I first got the script, I was like, oh my gosh, because again, the overlapping things. But then I think during our first read through, it hit me, and I was like, wow, this is great. So I mean, the process has just been so much fun, and I'm gonna be so sad when it's over. Like, I really love these girls. Like, they're my team, and I'm the captain, so I gotta, But again, like, I just think, I mean, if people get a chance, they should definitely come see the show because it's probably, I think it's been my favorite one to do out of all the ones I've done so far. Definitely.
That's great. Well, I was going to say to wrap up, why don't you tell the audience why they should see the show? So if you want to build on that last thought,
you should come see the show because we have great soccer tricks, hilarious lines, and some of the best actresses I have ever worked with.
There you go. You heard it. You can get tickets online at butterfieldstage.org or at our box office. All the details will be below in the information box. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to seeing y'all on stage. Very excited for the show.
Me too.
And thank y'all for joining us and watching. We hope to see you at the theater. Bye.
Thank you for joining us. For more information, please visit butterfieldstage.org.